Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our SiteRight Global Q Sports Network live Facebook calls. This morning, we've got someone quite special on our call, Alex Lely. Hopefully, there's many of you watching that already know and are familiar with Alex Lely. But for our Global Q Sports Network, Alex is a very special person within our network. And I go through my detail very, very closely. And I hope that by the time we get through this call, you'll understand why he has been specially invited to be one of our specialist coaches within our Global Q Sports Network from the pool world. But there's a snooker background a little bit to Alex as well. But he joins myself, Terry Griffiths, Wayne Griffiths, and Lee Walker as one of our specialist coaching teams. So, Alex, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. All good, Steve. Nice to be here.
Wow, you're set up well with the Kylie Minogues.
I have two kids downstairs, so this is to keep my focus on our call.
I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. How are you keeping in all of this world issues with COVID and all sorts? How are you keeping?
Well, strange times, and we're all healthy here, but my work, like all work, is down to zero. I'm doing a bit of social work, like 1-2 days a week.
Okay.
Which is okay, and I'm getting to play a bit more than I was doing for the past couple of years, so that's nice. Yeah. But I can't wait for things to get back to normal again.
Yeah, it's a weird world. We don't even have a clear date yet when clubs are going to reopen in the UK. Do you?
As of June 1st, some clubs have opened, but this is dependent on the municipality, on the city where it's at.
Yeah.
So that's rough on the clubs that aren't allowed to open yet. They're waiting for the 1st of July.
Okay. So 1st of July. So yeah, we can't wait to get back into clubs. We've got so much to do with the network as soon as the clubs are open and as soon as we can all get together again. But in the meantime, it is really strange times. But hey, look, we've got you on the call to hear about Alex Lely, the career. There's an interesting nickname. I'm not even sure we should use that at this stage, but we may touch on it. Maybe we should change it. I don't know. But let's talk about your career, Alex, because the one thing that seems very clear to me is that from the moment you turned pro, you broke through really quickly. But when did you turn pro?
It's a gradual process. So I started playing proper pool in a pool club on 9 feet tables in 93.
Yeah.
And then like in 96, 97, I was becoming good real quick. And so it went from working part-time, playing, and then working a bit less and playing a bit more. And by 98, I was playing full-time.
Okay. So you turned pro full-time in 1998. What was the circuit like around those times?
Pretty good, especially if you compare it to how it has been for the past couple of years, in that there were many proper tournaments in Europe, especially in the Netherlands. The Euro Tour was good. It had 200, 250 players per tournament. So it was, it was pretty good. It's not like the snooker, but it was a good time to play pool. And a little later in the early 2000s, Dutch television was picking up on it. So
yeah,
like for a decade or so, was a good time with the big tournament nearly every weekend.
Every weekend. I mean, anybody who does a little bit of research on you can see that there was quite a big European tour, wasn't there? And we'll get to that in a moment. But you quickly had a huge win after you turned pro. Would you like to tell us about that?
In 99. In 99, I beat Bustamante, who was at that time the world #1 in the final of the German Masters. Was a 256 player tournament.
Yeah.
And 4 months later, I beat his compatriot Efren Reyes, maybe the best ever, in the final of the World Pool Masters.
So World Pool Masters champion for 1999, wasn't it? Yeah. So these are names when, back in my day, when I was a bit younger, these are names which we recognized as huge pool icons. So, what was it like for you to break through so quickly in what, the space of a year from turning pro?
What was it like? Yeah, it's well, it's a great feeling, and if you go from being a journeyman, like trying to get there, to all of a sudden getting a lot of confirmation of people around you and of the pool world,
Yeah,
it takes time to sink in. And then I clearly remember questioning myself for months and months after. Is it real? Am I a champion? I'm not a champion. It's it's difficult to really embrace it.
yeah,
And I think I didn't embrace it or believed in it wholeheartedly enough. So like a year and a half later, I had some bad results, some big losses, which put me down, like confidence wise.
yeah. I can understand that. Yeah, we see
But
that time and time again.
yeah, of course, it's the saying that it's easy to get there, but it's difficult to stay there at the top.
Yeah, but
So
you.
I had some wins, but I wasn't like at the top. But it took me a while to realize that.
So you would have liked to have followed up that win with some instant success, but in actual fact, you were getting used to it. You were pinching yourself, I guess, to understand that you were what, a World Pool Masters champion. That's huge. So you were
Yeah,
pinching yourself.
it
Yeah,
was huge. Yeah, in hindsight, like later, I just understood I wasn't ready to stay at the top because I don't think my technique was solid enough.
yeah,
So I had I showed the heart, and I had the good shot selection, what made me win, and my technique held up. But to stay at the top for an extended period, you need to have solid ball striking as well, and not just solid. It needs to be at the top.
Did the fact did you question yourself then through the year as to whether or not you were technically sound? So did you, having won something like that, did you start to try and change something, or was it just a bit of, I'm pinching myself, wow, has this really happened? And then the pressures of becoming a world champion or a World Pool Masters champion, did that sort of eat into the mindset?
Yeah, I think if a player wins his first big title, it confirms, it's confirmation, but it's also a responsibility that you then lay up on yourself to always produce.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
nobody can produce always, but at least that's the pressure you put onto yourself.
yeah,
And then in doing so, you'll find in smaller tournaments or in the spotlights or in practice that you're not performing up to the degree that you would like to. And
yeah,
then if you're not with the coach, you're going to be questioning your technique,
yeah.
as did I, as do many.
Yeah, but then you kind of brought that all together, because in the following year you reached the final again. So did that go some way to helping you understand that actually your game was good enough, or was it that, what was different?
Uh,
You won the tournament in 1999, and then you've reached the final again. So that must have given you some encouragement that you were doing the right things.
and not, because in that final it was sort of the culmination of my self doubt, because in that final I missed three 9 balls,
Okay.
and in 9 ball pool, if you make all balls and miss the 9, you lose. So I really made a mess of myself in that second final,
Yeah.
and like in the months after and the year after, that's where my results really began to drop like hard. And
Yeah.
that's when I started working on my technique, and I got myself to a snooker table, etc.
So you use the snooker table to improve your technique to help the pool.
Yes,
I
yes.
like it.
On a 6x12, smaller ball, smaller pockets, round pockets. If you're a bit off, you're not going to make the ball.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. So I find that quite impressive in terms of a person who understands the need. And we've got many world-class pool players now who use the snooker table to improve their pool and their potting accuracy, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah. It's just easy. It's easy to get a bit sloppy and nonchalant on a pool table.
Yeah.
Whereas good habits and proper alignment, etc., in snooker are much more essential, and you get direct feedback. Whereas in pool, you might get good results, but gradually the good habits or the bad habits or misalignment will creep in and will get confirmed and will be harder to eradicate after.
We've got some questions coming in on your experience with SiteRight and students in terms of them taking the time to change. But we'll remember that question. I will come back to that question. So when these come in, we'll make a small note, because there's some things I want to talk about you first. Your career, I think, is very important. I want people to understand the class of Alex Lely. All right, there's some mental learning, some sports psychological learning from dealing with a first win to believing in yourself to then progressing or at least keeping your performance high. And time again have we seen people drop off when they win their first major or their first really big tournament. It does put pressure on players. So these are the sort of things I know when we go through our network, when we're back in clubs, where we can really explore these things more. But you've won so many more things, and you're quite a humble individual from my point of view. I know that you won several European tour events. The Italian Open, the Dutch Open, was the German Open in there as well. Yeah. So you obviously got things back together, and you have a mindset of a winner. You can't win those things without having a mindset of a winner, or the ability to win as well. So you clearly got things back together pretty quick.
Yeah. Now looking back, it was pretty quick, but at the time it felt
like forever.
Like forever. Yeah, it took me like 2.5 years to get back.
I think that sort of ties in with when people are on tour as a professional. When you get amateurs become, they turn into professional and they find the circuit, they suddenly realize that week by week, month by month, time just flies. And that, suddenly 3 years have gone, 2 years have gone, 5 years have gone. And if you're not doing the right things, suddenly your career can pass you by. But when I turn around and look at your career, there's some special things. I know you played in the 2001 World Games, but you played in both disciplines, didn't you? Pool and snooker.
Yeah, but
all right.
Not because I qualified for the snooker. One player out of the 16 snooker players hadn't been able to make it, and they asked me if I wanted to play there, and of course I did.
And you did. Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
So you knew you could handle yourself on a snooker table. Yeah, you wouldn't have played if you couldn't.
Well, I'll jump in there. I didn't really fire. I lost to Marlon Manalo, who in the end lost in the final against Björn Haneveer.
Yeah.
But it's in Q sports, even with poor preparation or poor form, if you get a bit of run of the ball, things can happen.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. But at least I played.
If we turn around, I've got some various different things. We're going to drop in that your nickname. I had a nickname when I used to play snooker and English 8-ball pool. I used to play top level for county and all the pro-ams, and I remember playing people like Ross McGuinness and those Maltese Joe Barber and all those sort of things in 8-ball pool, and they were good days. And snooker always was the overriding factor for me to turn around and be better at those games. All right. Now, that's not that I was prejudicial to those games, but I always used to know that, if you were a very accurate Q Sports player, it tended to drive a difference in performance. But you were known as the plague from The Hague. Now, That's an odd nickname. Who gave that to you?
Oh, we thought it up with a couple of friends of mine because the hooligans of the Hague Football Club.
Yeah.
They're called the Plague from the Hague. They used to be real bad in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Wreak a lot of havoc, and the Plague from the Hague. Yeah.
The Plague from the Hague.
It's not a real sexy name, but it rhymes, and it pays tribute to my hometown.
It imparted fear on anybody who played, eh? So, who out of all? I mean, you've been many places around the world playing pool. You've won, what was it? 2005. You were European champion in both 9-ball and 8-ball pool. Yeah. All right. So again, this is a man who knows how to play this game. The skill that you've had to play this game in your career as a player. Because we're going to get onto the Mosconi Cup soon. In your career as a player, who were your favourite players? Who did you enjoy playing most?
Playing most? Well, that's a different thing. My favorite players are very good players. So it's not always a good thing to find yourself up against them. But it's Efren Reyes, because he's a Filipino, very, very knowledgeable.
Yes.
The most creative, one of the most creative, and Alex Pagulayan, who is still playing, still very active,
and a lovely guy. Sorry, Alex. I saw him a few times at some of the qualifiers, the snooker qualifiers. What a lovely guy.
Yeah, great guy. It's a lot of fun, but also, as a player, I like players who. I commentate also on the pool and the snooker, and I like the more methodical, deliberate players. I like the instinctive left-handers. I enjoy all sides of the dimension in cue sports, actually.
Okay.
But what stimulates me most if I see new solutions, or I see someone able to find a solution for a tight spot on the table, and for that you need knowledge and creativity.
Who do you see as your icon in the game? A lot of people in snooker, for example, of my generation would be looking at Steve Davis, Jimmy White, and the younger generation for me is Ronnie O'Sullivan. Who in your world of pool were the people that you really looked up to? That you really thought these are the icons of our game?
Ooh, yeah. When I started out, it was Efren Reyes and the strongest Americans: Buddy Hall, Johnny Archer, Mike Siegel.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I watched the most, because back in the day you had to order an Accustat video cassette coming in from the States, waiting for 3 weeks, and then you had your match and you could watch the pros.
I remember Johnny Archer. I saw him in Las Vegas at the expo there, and we were going through SiteRight together. He was incredibly impressed. Nice guy. I also I watched Earl Strickland play live in Philadelphia. And he's an interesting character in your world.
No, that's an understatement.
He's an interesting character, but there are a number of things that from my background, when I look at it, that when I watch pool players and the different and the successful pool players and certain players from around the world, there are some technical advantages that some have. I know we're going to talk about those at another time, because we've got the difference between a snooker table being nearly 3 foot to a foot high to a pool table, a 9-ball pool table, and indeed English 8-ball pool table being significantly lower. So it has impact on technique. But I do remember when I've watched Sir Earl Strickland, he's an interesting chap. Who is your favourite European pool player other than yourself?
Yeah, it's difficult to say, really, because as said, I like all dimensions, all aspects in the game. So you have more deliberate, methodical Albin Auschen from Austria or Niels Veen from the Netherlands, and they have Jason Shaw and Joshua Filler,
Yeah.
who are left-handed, make all shots players.
Yeah.
Which is also very attractive, very easy on the eye, so to say.
Well, Jason Shaw is always hitting the snooker table, isn't he? He's on a star snooker table when he goes back to Scotland, and for him, it's his accuracy on his game comes from Q Sports. But he's learned all the from snooker, but he's learned all the shots in pool, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in pool, what I appreciate in 9-ball pool is that because of the size of the table and the pockets and the requirements of the game, you play more different types of speed and penetration of the ball, more English on the ball, more spin. So you're supposed to do more with the cue ball.
Well, you know that we've got a SiteRight cue ball coming soon, so that's going to excite people. But that's for another day. But I'm going to impress upon people. The reason that Alex Lely is part of our specialist team is because of what's going on in here, the knowledge he has in here. He's a proven winner. He's a proven coach, and this man knows a lot about the game. So I'm gonna treat that as our lead. We do have a question. I've got to be careful of the questions. I don't like to ignore the questions. There was one that says from Elliot West. Cool, I can't see it now. We're back. SiteRight has been very successful in the careers of many UK players, most famously Mark Williams. Do you plan or are you working with other lesser known non-UK players? Perhaps a new star will be born as a result. Elliot, yes. And I know that Alex here would tell you that, our coaching extends far beyond just the professional game. I do a lot of work for SiteRight in darts, and the generation that we are looking to build through the youth side, and the same for me with Q Sports, is why would anybody learn to play an accuracy sport with offline sighting? So it goes without saying that with a number of coaches around the world, which now Alex and I know that we have, that we've got juniors coming through that are seeing our coaches and that are learning to play this game with perfect sighting alignment, confirmed details around how they see straight. So, make no mistake, just because we're working with these top guys and talking about these top guys, we also work with a huge number of amateurs. And people will learn more about those. So I hope that answers the question, Elliot. But let's get back to this guest. Right. Mosconi Cup time, okay? So you've had what experience before in Mosconi Cup, 2008, 2009. Anybody that I know that makes the Mosconi Cup, not only as a player, but also as a captain, has got some incredible skill, knowledge, and all-round delivery in this game. It takes something special, I think, to be a Mosconi Cup team captain as well as a player. Talk to me about your first experiences, 2008, 2009.
Well, actually, to set that straight, in 08 to 09, I was a captain. I had two captaincies, and in 99 and 05, I played.
You played?
My first experience was in 99. After winning the World Pool Masters, I was invited and I played in Bethnal Green, York Hall.
Yeah.
And
that's
at
where
the time,
isn't it? That's where I saw you. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years back for the World Cup of Pool.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful venue, and it was packed with hooligans, many British fans, and it was crazy. And at that time, in that period, it was the era when the Americans really had a firm grasp on the cup.
Yeah,
we never won, and we didn't feel we felt underdogs big time, but the scenery in there and a live TV production with so many fans, it was just very special. And I was playing alongside Steve Davis, which was special as well, as I grew up watching him on the BBC playing snooker.
Yeah. So that was your first experience as a player?
Yeah.
Wow. And then as a captain?
As a captain, I took over in 2008 from Johan Ruysink, who was the Dutchman. He used to be the head coach for the Dutch Federation and became a Mosconi Cup captain, legendary Mosconi Cup icon. And he resigned. I took over, and we played in Malta. We actually had quite an easy stroll. I mean, we won handily.
Yeah.
And then the next year in 2009, we played in Vegas and we lost. You know, things were rougher then. They had a Dennis Hatch who was on fire. They played well, and in front of the American fans, they put a lot of pressure on us, and we succumbed. And that's when you learn, you know, by experience that the real coaching starts when the heat is on. Things are easy when you're winning.
Yeah.
So then that was the end of it at that time. But now, luckily, I'm getting the chance to be back at home again.
I mean, the appointment for this year, obviously, COVID has changed a lot. But you know, for anybody watching, Alex has been appointed as the 2020 Mosconi European team captain. But we don't know any more details about that yet, do we? In terms of scheduling, I guess. It's like World Snooker, isn't it? Everything is just not necessarily on hold, but the planners are having to go through nightmares. But to be fair, what a great honour again for you to be appointed as captain. That's pretty special, I guess.
It's special, the event in itself, but it helps me also to get closer to the player. So with some of the usual suspects, it's not set in stone yet who will be on the team.
Yeah.
But I enjoy also spending time with top players, just to pick their brain, just to get a little bit more insight in how they roll. So with a couple of them, I've done like online training sessions through Skype or Zoom or whatever, for them to get used to my voice and my directions.
Yeah.
But for me, I get a lot out of just seeing them at work, and I can put a bit of pressure on them in a training session just to see how they respond.
Cool. I like the pressure bit, you see, putting the pressure on them, hey?
Yeah, I think the difficulty for players of any level, any player with some competitive ambitions, the difficulty is to have quality training sessions. So when you get out there, you experience maybe a level 3 or 4 or 5 of pressure, medium, high, or extreme. But how much pressure do you generate in training? If you're by yourself in your cellar, there's no pressure. If you're in the club, there's a bit more. If you have a trainer watching you online, it gives you at least a bit of pressure.
I mean, these are things where, as we know in the network, we're going to be able to explore these more and help all of our subscribers to our Player Members Club, consider these things to help them improve their game. And, this knowledge, this ability to perform under pressure, the grading system that we will be having, okay, it's snooker, but, we know that you'll be helping us do the same for the world of 9-ball pool. A grading system in practice and a pressured grading system. This game doesn't have it. There are not many Q Sports games that really enable people to say, I can do this. I can really do this, and we're looking forward to that. I've got a question over on the right-hand side here. Alex's experience with SiteRight students, how much time does it take for students to start changing their old ways of sighting shots to the new SiteRight way? Just curious how much time they think it takes for the eyes to learn the new way of sighting correctly.
Well, it doesn't take a lot of time for the player, in my experience, for the player to recognize that it's a more natural way. Sometimes in 5 or 10 minutes. But the reprogramming can take a while. But I often refer to Mark Williams when he started working with you, Steve. He won 5 tournaments in one season. And after the second tournament, in an interview, he said, I sometimes still don't trust my eyes.
Correct.
Or I don't know how he phrased it, but what happens, so your eyes might still be used to your old way of aligning. So when you set yourself up as you should, as he was doing, then his eyes were still telling him that he was wrong. That's how he said it. Sometimes my eyes still tell me I'm misaligned, but when I go down, I'm bang on line.
Terry Griffiths was the same, and basically in our course, for those that are watching in Ristia, when we deal with high planar sighting and low planar sighting, when we're dealing with the accuracy, the precision that people need to have, these things are important. So anybody asking questions around how long does it take people to adapt, there's sometimes what we would call someone adapt pretty naturally and get it quickly, but if there's significant changes in what they perceived or been told is their eye dominance versus what is actually their SiteRight sighting line and where they stand behind the shot, it can vary. The one thing I would say, Ristia, is that the whole host of practice routines that will come out in our course and our coaching and our weekly sessions will show people what we put in place to help them make that transition. So again, I think Alex, you know this. When I'm dealing with like Ronnie or whatever, even Stephen Hendry now, we're dealing with what we would call the triangle of error, and we're dealing with this thought process. If you've been sat playing the game, sat in a passenger seat. Now, obviously, this is UK driving with steering wheel on the right, Alex. But if you're sat in the passenger seat trying to steer and aim in your game, and then I put you behind the steering wheel, wow, it looks different. It looks so different. You think you're looking right to left, never mind about left to right. And the angles of the shots over certain distances around the table vary. So we help our players get through this transition with the practice routines, the very prescribed SiteRight practice routines that we have. So Ristia, remember, stick with the routines, all right? Do the routines that we will deliver to you, and that will help the transition a lot quicker. But that's going to lead me to a question with you, Alex. When you came to our course to become an accredited SightRight coach, 1, I was flattered. 2, I felt honoured and privileged that someone with such a huge reputation in the game of 9-ball pool would start seeing this. I understood it after our conversations and your interest in snooker, and even the process that we've got so many 9-ball pool players who use snooker to improve their potting accuracy. What would you say would be the one most important thing for people watching this if they were to turn around and consider why SiteRight coaching and the methods that we use are so important for their game? What would be the one main thing you would tell them?
Well, you want to know what's going on. You want to know what's going on. So it's okay to miss, but if you don't have a clue why one day is a bad day and another day is a good day, it can be very frustrating. And I speak for myself. And when you find this, it's when you find the key to be more effective and be better online, it just fuels your whole joy for playing the game.
Yeah.
Because McManus, it was a nice quote, he once said on television, I go to the snooker hall every day because I want to hit the cue ball in the middle. SiteRight will help you to hit the cue ball more in the middle, better in the middle, more consistent. So your weekdays will be not so weak. I mean, you're always going to have below par days and you're going to have above par days. But the weakest link in your chain is going to get stronger. You don't have to play around shots anymore. So top players that I've worked with in snooker and at 9-ball pool, what they give me back after 4 or 6 weeks when it starts to settle in, and when they're starting to condition themselves, what they give back is they find that in competition, they don't play around certain shots anymore. So what you learn as a player, there are some shots that you don't like, from left to right or rolling shots, and you'll play around it through savvy and smartness and being clever. But it's so liberating to find that you actually are upping your game on those specific shots, and you don't have to play around them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's key, isn't it? Yeah,
like 30-degree angle, plain ball, just float the ball in. if you can start doing that's very fulfilling, and it builds a lot of confidence.
I think that's what people don't really understand, and it's part of my fault when I look at the number of years that I've been coaching SiteRight. It's to protect. It's been to protect the intellectual property around it, because it's important, and the shift that we're making in the game across all Q sports now, for people to fully understand the proven methods, to fully understand, is key. But listen, we mustn't give all the secrets out on here. But empowering and liberating, I love to know what you're doing instead of keep guessing. I think that's some of the high level power that SiteRight we know gives to a player. When we turn around and look at yourself, we've got some incredibly exciting times ahead when we get out of this lockdown. Alex, I can't wait for us all to get together so that we have some good research and development time together in the way that we're moving things forward. Anybody watching this, when we deal with the network, for those that are subscribing to our home theory course, when we come out of this lockdown, we've got some really special things coming. And when we look at this man here, if you're a pool player, if you're from the world of pool and you're thinking about getting to snooker to turn around and improve the accuracy in your pool game, or actually you just want to get knowledge and understand how to improve your game using SiteRight, this is why we've got Alex with us. Alex, I've loved having the chat with you today. All right. I know you've got some important things that you need to get to, but 1999 World Pool Masters, 2 times European pool champion in 9-ball and 8-ball pool in the same year, played for the Mosconi Cup European team, captained the Mosconi Cup European team back in 2008-9, 2020 Mosconi Cup captain. You've got some CV, eh?
Right. Thanks.
You've got some CV, and we're proud to have you on board. But there's one thing finally. You're a sport commentator, all right? Have you made any real big mistakes that you could look back and say, this is a funny moment for me as a European, as a Eurosport commentator? Is there one big mistake you've ever made that you could say, oh, I wish I could turn the clock back on that one?
Slip of the tongue? No, not really. No, it's just sometimes when you're set in the booth, because we do the sessions alone, in the booth for 4.5 hours. I'll sometimes get it wrong, look away, look back, say he has to play the black, but he's on red. Something like that will occur, but nothing that I'm aware of. No big hiccups. No.
Have you ever sat in that booth then and thought, wow, there's more pressure here than winning the 1999 World Pool Masters?
Oh, of course. Of course. There's a lot, there's a lot of heat out there, and sometimes you have this great matchup where both players play well, and sometimes, it's one-way traffic. One is playing well and the other cannot reply, is unable to reply. Yeah. But, and sometimes, both players fail to produce, and that's also interesting. And then really there's a lot of negative pressure, because
when the noodle is baked out there, as I call it.
Yeah, because then there's a lot of they maybe they're ashamed of what they're showing, and it gets worse and worse, and that's negative pressure.
Yeah, the embarrassment of something.
Embarrassment, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's what for me can be the most toe curling when I'm sat in the booth when I see that.
you feel sorry for them.
Yeah, it's tough out there. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I've learned from you today is I've learned one expression: the pooligans. I love it. The pooligans. Alex, I'm going to wish you a lovely day. I'm really grateful for your time. I hope everybody listening. We may not have had a chance with some of the questions that have come in because I've wanted people to know about you. And we'll get another call in that respect. But also for those watching, don't forget you're going to be able to join us at times in the future in our network with Alex. We've got some exciting times to come. Alex, thank you very, very much, so much.
Thank you, Steve. It was nice to be here. Take care.
Take care, pal.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.